I remember the night no one else noticed when the weight became too much and your strength ran out quietly while your voice stayed silent. You didn't tell anyone, you smiled when they asked, but I saw what was buried beneath the quiet I watched. You hold it all together even when your heart was fraying at the edge. Thought your tears didn't matter. You thought your pain had to stay hidden, but I was there, not above you, not just near you, but with you in the deepest part of that silence. Where no one else could, I heard the cries that never made it past your lips. I counted the tears that never touched the floor. You believed no one would understand, but I did, I always have. You've spent so long trying to be strong, not because you wanted to, but because you didn't think anyone would carry you, so you carried everything and buried yourself beneath the weight of it, but you were never meant to do it. Alone was there, not watching from a distance but holding you together. When your soul began to tremble, when your faith felt too fragile, when you questioned if I still listened to Neddy date every word, even the ones you were too tired to say, I understood your silence. I read your ache like a book. I didn't need explanations. I needed your heart. You didn't disappoint me. You didn't fall short. You didn't lose your place in my love because of the sorrow you carried. If anything, it made my love reach deeper, further, stronger, because I do not run from brokenness. I draw near to it. I do not shame weakness. I rest my strength within it. Too were not invisible to me. I saw every moment you collapsed quietly in the dark, and I stayed not to judge you, but to hold the pieces until you could feel again. Know how the world made you feel like you had to hide the truth to be loved, like tears meant you lacked faith, like sorrow disqualified you from hope. But I never asked you to be perfect. I only asked you to let me. Don't need polished prayers. I don't wait for the right words. I listen for honesty, and you've always been honest in your pain, even when you thought you were failing. You when you were surviving, and I was helping you breathe when you didn't even know how every sob you released was heard in heaven, not as weakness but as worship, as trust, as the sound of a heart still reaching for me even through the tears. And you were never alone in that room when the walls felt cold and the silence felt endless. I was sitting with you, not saying much, just being near, because sometimes presence says more than words ever could. You thought no one would come looking, but I was already there before you even knew you were breaking. You don't need to apologize. You don't need to pretend it didn't hurt. You can be real with me. I am not afraid of your sorrow. I enter it, I redeem it, I transform it. Those tears, they watered seeds you haven't seen grow yet, and in time you'll look back and realize your darkest night was not your end, but the beginning of something sacred. No, it didn't feel holy. I know it just felt lonely, but I was in it, and wherever I am, there is light. Even when you didn't see it, even when you sat in the dark for what felt like forever, I was gently kindling something inside you, something that will not go out, even if the storms ripped in you. Thought the breaking would ruin you, but it was making room for what I've always wanted to give you. Me peace, not the kind the world offers, but the kind that meets you when everything else has failed. Me love, not the kind that leaves when you no longer feel useful, but the kind that stays even when you stop talking. Me voice, not loud, not demanding, but consistent, like breath, like morning light, like the steady rise of hope after a long wintry. No, you feel tired still, and that's okay. You don't have to rush. Thistling doesn't happen in haste. It happens in presence, in honesty, in stillness, and you've already said more than enough by simply me. Take what you've tried to hide. Let me lift what's been too heavy. Let me breathe where everything has felt numb. You don't have to fight for my attention. You already have it. You don't have to prove your worth. Healing, you already are. I see you. I don't see a mess. I see my child, still standing, still reaching, still minind. If you need to cry again, do it. I will not turn away. I will not sigh. I will not be disappointed. We'll draw near again and again, as many times as it takes, because you are worth staying for. You always have been, and one day the tears will stop, not because you forced them to, but because peace finally found a home in you, and joy quiet. Joy will rise like something long forgotten but never lost, not broken beyond repair. You are not too far gone. You are not behind. You are seen. You are known. You are loved. And I'm not done at this chapter is not the end. This night is not forever. This pain will not define you, and the next time you cry you won't be alone. You never were. I know how long you've carried it, the ache that never found words, the weight others didn't notice. You became an expert in silence, a protector of emotions too deep to explain, but I was never confused by your quiet, never distant because of your sadness. I knew exactly where your heart was hiding, and I came for you there, not with demands, not with pressure, but with gentles. Bakaka's healing never comes through force, it comes through presence, and I have always been present even when you questioned. If I saw you, I did, especially then. You thought your breakdown disqualified you, but it drew me closer. You thought your sadness made you weak, but it revealed your need, and need is not shameful, it's holy groundy. Come to those who admit they can't Do it alone. I moved toward those whose hands are empty because that's when I can fill them. You kept trying to hold everything together, but I never asked. You toy only asked that you let me hold. Youth world taught you to be strong without help, to stay quiet until the storm passed, to smile so no one would worry, but I care more about your truth than your performance, more about your soul than your image. I've worn invisible armor for too long. You don't have to anymore, not here, not with me. I'm not waiting for your victory story, I'm here for your surrender. I'm not moved by polished prayers, I'm moved by the ones that sound like broken breath. Been more honest in your silence than most are in their speeches, and I honor that. I've never turned away from your truth, I've leaned in closer. You tried to make peace with pain because you didn't think joy was safe, but I'm teaching you something new. Peace doesn't mean pretending. Peace means being whole in your tears, in your questions, in your becoming, and I am making you whole, not just healed but restored. You won't always cry like this. You won't always feel so raw, but for now your softness is sacred. Your tears are planting something. Etanalu thought you were collapsing, but you were surrendering, and surrender is not failure, it's freedom, it's the turning point. You've been surviving, but now you're being reversed. It's not about forgetting the pain, this is about transforming it until even your most fragile memory becomes a place of testimony, not torment. Bears. I was there, and if I was there, then nothing was wasted. You are not just being comforted, you are being rebuilt with more compassion, with deeper empathy, with a heart that understands what others cannot see, and that understanding will become a light for someone else. Because what you've walked through will not end with yo. You thought your story was too heavy, too complicated, but I am making it into a song of comfort for those still sitting in the darky. Trust you with this, not because you have it all figured out, but because you let me in, and that's all I ever want. Didove opened the door even with shaking hands, and I stepped in, fully, without hesitation. Bess, I don't need perfection to dwell, I just need invitation, and now, here. I am not just as your healer, but as your friend, your defender, your shelter. You've been judged by those who only saw fragments, but I see that whole, and I call it beautiful. They saw emotion, I saw devotion, they saw sorrow. I saw a soul refusing to give up. Never gave up even when you thought you did, because you were still breathing, still hoping, still whispering my name when everything else fell silent. That's not weakness, that's courage. You stood in the middle of heartbreak and still opened your heart. You endured the silence and still reached for my voice, and now that voice is here, soft, steady, unshaking, not to tell you to move faster, but to remind you you're already moving. Grace doesn't rush, love doesn't demand, and I will walk this with you at your pace. Some days you will still cry, and that's okay. Tears are not the absence of faith, they are proof that your soul is still alive, still feeling, still trusting me with the most tender parts, and I honor every one of them. Nothing you've experienced has been unseen, nothing you've felt is insignificant. Not to me, you are not dramatic, you are not too much. You are not a burden, you are beloved, and your presence is a joy to my heart. This isn't pity, this is delight. This is the Creator resting beside his creation, saying, I made you, and I do not regret it. So let the healing continue slowly, sacredly, deeply, with no need to rush into wholeness. Because I am not waiting for you at the finish line, I am walking with you now, in the stillness, in the quiet moments. In the aftertears, I am Hero, are not behind you, are not failing you, are not forgotten, you are not forgotten, you are seen, you are safe, you are loved, and you are minimed. No one, not one voice of shame, not one memory of judgment can remove you from my care. Because my love is not rented, it is rooted, it is permanent, and it is your Sue, are growing even now, and heaven is singing, not because you're perfect, but because you're present, because you stayed, because you're letting me stay, and that changes everything. I never forgot you, not when you felt invisible, not when silence wrapped around you like a question, not even when your own heart whispered, maybe I don't matter anymore. You always mattered, you always belonged, even when your voice broke, even when your strength faded, even when all you could offer was a sigh between tears. Was there not waiting for your recovery, but resting with you in the ache, because love doesn't rush healing, and I never wanted to fix you, I wanted to stay with you until love replaced fear, until peace replaced the pretending, until presence became your foundation. And now look at you, still tender but breathing freely, not because the pain disappeared, but because my presence grew larger than ethos. Is the sacred shift, the holy reversal, when sorrow becomes soil, and from that soil purpose. Grausu didn't just survive, you became, you learned to see in the dark, you learned to listen beneath the noise, you learned to wait for the truth when the lies shouted louder, and I call that strength, not the loud kind, but the eternal kind, the kind that builds things others can't see. Yet you've been asking, what was all that pain for? And I hear you, I don't dismiss the question, I've felt the weight of it with you, but let me show you now, let me open your eyes gently. What they called failure became fuel. What they said was, weakness has become wisdom, and what you carried alone I've turned into light for those still wonder, and you don't need to be perfect to have a purpose. You don't need a stage to have a calling. Your tears, your honesty, your surrender. They have already made space for heaven to move through. You thought you lost time, but I redeem time. I stretch it, I breathe into it, I make it new. Years you spent questioning, the nights you spent grieving, they are not erased, they are anointed. Nothing is wasted in my hands. You are not behind, you are not broken in vain, you are not too late, you are exactly where eternity decided you would rise. You rise now, not in performance, but in peace, not to impress, but to invite, to reflect, to carry. You carry something sacred. Now not just healing, but authority, not just stories, but power, the kind that comes from surviving fire and choosing love anyway. You are not only restored, you are entrusted with compassion, with empathy, with truth that doesn't need a platform because it lives in how you walk, how you see others, how you pause to listen, how you choose gentleness over judgment. You are not who you were, you're more in. I celebrate that, I honor that, I breathe on Thatium, not waiting for you to do something grand. I'm walking with you into something eternal, one step at a time, one word at a time, one soul at a time. You have been made whole, and now you become a home for others who still believe they're lost. Net by preaching, but by presence, not by shouting, but by loving the way I loved you when no one else saw the tea ascend. You will see the fruit, you will feel the shift, not because everything becomes easy, but because nothing will be the same. You are not afraid, like before. You do not doubt the way you once did. You have seen my face in the dark, and now you know the light isn't just something I give, it's who I am, and who you reflect. Thee will ask, how did you heal? And your answer won't be perfect, but it will be real. It will sound like I stayed, I listened, I let God love me through it, and that is enough. Not called to fix people, you're called to love. You're not expected to save anyone, you're invited to reflect the one who already died in you. You're already doing it, by walking with peace, by resting when others rush by, showing up with presence. When the world shouts for performance, this is the new way, the quiet way, the holy way, and I will keep walking with you. You are not stepping out alone. You are stepping into everything I've prepared, with grace beneath you, with favor around you, with my spirit within you. We may still cry, but the tears will feel different, not of sorrow, but of recognition, of beauty, of wonder, of gratitude that you made it not in your own strength but in many. And I rejoice with you. Heaven rejoices with your beak. One heart fully healed, fully seen, fully present is a miracle, and you are a miracle, and you are a miracle. No longer hiding, no longer performing, just loved, just walking, just radiant with peace, because the one who stayed with you in the silence is now shining through you in the light. And this is what glory looks like.